what does it take to really process something like this?
Well, I think first of all, I want to send out my condolences to everyone who lost someone and everyone affected by this. Unfortunately, this tragedy continues to repeat itself in our country, and we need to talk about this more. One, how to prevent them from happening, and also how to understand the repercussions of trauma in society.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate that we've had to cover several school shootings, and now this one so close to home. Um, as I reported off the top, that classes have resumed in Barrow County as of today. And, in Barrow County, classes were canceled Thursday and Friday of last week following Wednesday's shooting and canceled yesterday as well. But students at Apalachee High are still not back in class. Can you really put a time on how long it takes to really heal and be ready to go back into daily life?
Everyone's going to be affected differently from it. It depends on your level of resiliency, which some of it is genetic, some of it just comes from your family of origin and the positive connections you have in your life. Everyone's going to be affected differently. The timeline, there isn't a specific timeline. One one chain of thought would be to get back into life pretty soon thereafter, try to resume normal daily activities. One of the things that we try to do in residential treatment, I work for LTR Healthcare. We run residential treatment centers for short term, for adolescents in America across the country. And what we try and do is we create a framework of predictable, a predictable framework of living, and that tends to create some a lessening of anxiety, and everyone needs it no matter what age you are, but particularly adolescents need a framework to live in. It's more difficult when the trauma or the tragedy occurred in your school system. It's different when it's happened. The further it's happened from you, the more disconnect you have from it. So it really
Mm-hmm.
depends on what proximity you are to the trauma, to
Yeah.
the traumatic event.
So, but it's a really interesting point. You say that going back to a kind of routine, having a framework for living, having a routine essentially is good for the mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So in our school system, we need an educational framework to be learning. We have to
Mm-hmm.
be learning the prescribed classes. We also need to be autodidactic, meaning we need to teach ourselves things that we're interested in. Whatever you're into, get into it. That tends to give you hope. It gives you something to work towards. That's how
Yeah.
our nervous system's set up. So the more that you can do that, the better. Interpersonally, a lot of times when a traumatic event occurs, people try to avoid talking about it, thinking
Mm-hmm.
that well, maybe it's not conscious, maybe it's subconscious. If we kind of don't bring up these topics and we talk about happy things, that it's going to make things better. Sometimes the path towards getting through a difficult time is talking about the difficult time
Mm-hmm.
and getting a new perspective on it, finding out what's normative and what is abnormal, because changes occur in with people when events occur, and it's important to know what is normal.
That's such a really interesting point. And I remember talking to a psychotherapist not too long ago about, how to talk to your kids if you're a parent. And one tip that she gave was, we basically to avoid this habit that we have in our society of just saying it's okay, it's okay. When something bad happens, it's okay, and just acknowledging that it's not okay. And I wondered your thoughts on that. And I've been thinking about this phrase I learned recently called toxic positivity that
Mm,
I was really intrigued by because we want to act like everything's okay, we want to say everything's okay, but four people were killed.
exactly. Everything is not always okay. The thing that most people need most in the world is someone that believes in them when times are good or times are bad. So believing that someone can get through something, like I know this is difficult, but we're going to do it together. And also being open about how it's affected you,
Mm-hmm.
you know. The older you are, especially in America, the more things you've been through,
Sure.
whether it's personally or in the country or in the world. So I think it's important that we communicate with our children in an open and honest fashion. And it's more like uh, things are not okay right now, but we have to find a way through this
I almost wonder,
together.
yeah, yeah. And, I wonder if for parents, because parents, of course, there's going to be so much focus on helping their kids get through it, but parents are going to have to process as well and maybe have to deal with their own trauma. And I'm wondering if, as a parent, if it's helpful parenting wise to just explain to your kid, I'm also trying to process this. I'm also in shock. I'm also really, really just sad and scared. Is that a
Hmm.
helpful thing?
I would say to some extent, yes, absolutely. Because what you're modeling is being open. Children are very sharp, they understand what's going on, and they can read when you're lying to them. So it's important to be open and honest. And it also is just modeling communication. The more
Mm,
we can do that, the better our society will be.
that's really interesting. So it's modeling communication. So you're kind of
Yeah,
leading.
modeling open communication.
So you're
Like this
leading.
is tough. I don't know
Yeah.
what to do. I'm afraid. I'm as your parent, my responsibility is to keep you safe, and I don't feel very safe right now, and I'm sure you don't either. But
I,
let's figure it out. The
that is
truth is
so
even though this is a random act and it's happening way too much, it's still a rare event. So that's also something to put into your consciousness that even though this is a traumatic event, it is a rare event. Um, so that's also very confusing. What happens in a traumatic event is that your nervous system kind of gets rewired. Depends on the severity of it, and you can get into a state of anxiety and hypervigilance, meaning that you're always looking around the corner for the next shoe to fall, so to speak, and it can be disconcerting and scary. So we have to find a place that's where we go back to habituated daily activities that we can count on.
That's such a great point. And as you're talking, I mean, I've even observing that when my routine gets disrupted, how I feel, not
Hmm.
quite myself. And so you can only imagine for a child who is still developing and who is trying to deal with something so traumatic, that maybe having those things that are just part of life, those even a little thing like maybe every morning, they have a certain type of jelly with toast or whatever it is. Maybe that sort of thing just becomes really important in times like these.
Yeah, if you have pets in the home, I know pets are like extremely, they're fantastic. If you have a dog, a cat,
Mm-hmm.
particularly dogs, because they just give unconditional love back, depending on the dog. But
Mm-hmm.
dogs are great.
Yeah. Oh, I have dogs, cats, horses, and a pig.
All
so
of them are great,
I don't know if I
including the
can tell.
reptile. Yeah.
I don't know if I can tell all of our viewers to adopt all those, but no, but that's a great point. And I hope we don't get parents in trouble because a lot of the kids are saying, "You see, mom and dad, we should get a dog. I've been telling you we want a dog."
Well, there's ways to work up to that, you know? You can say, hey, if you want a dog or a cat, like show me levels of responsibility in your life that you can attain right now that would that would make me think that's a good idea for you. Like show me.
Yeah. Well, our
If we
health.
have that kind of thing going on, it'll work.
So we're there. Remember, kids, Lex Remillard has said you can get a dog. You just got
But
to
you have
sell
to
your car.
prove that you can be responsible for the dog,
Yeah, that's the
right?
important part. That's absolutely
Yeah.
100%, 100%. Any other
Yeah.
thoughts for folks, as I mean, they're working through a really difficult time. Any other tips that you can share?
Well, I think kind of going back to what was going on in this person's life to create this type of tragedy. We're all we're all part of society together, and if someone's struggling silently, we need to be aware of it and either a try and talk to them or get them help. You know, part of what we're trying to do here is open up access to care to young people so they can get help before tragedy strikes. Adolescent suicide is on the rise, drug addiction is on the rise, mental health issues in our country. We have much more awareness of it. We need to be more proactive in getting people the help they need when they need it. And
Yeah.
maybe a little bit before the incident or the occasion has occurred that everyone wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
part of it is destigmatizing mental health, getting mental health treatment. Many of the clients I've talked to, the good news is many of them, the stigma is much lower than it used to be when I was growing up. They're like, yeah, some of my friends see therapists like it's no big deal. And I think that's interesting. That's a societal change that we just need more of it.
no, you're absolutely right. I think that has become normalized in society. Just from when I was a kid, and I'm being honest, I'm almost 44 years old. I've seen, now it's no big deal. Oh, my therapist says blah blah blah. I was talking to my therapist, and that's a really good thing because it's I've heard kind of the parallel drawn between the mental health and physical health, and we go to doctors, traditional doctors, for regular checkups, and it's sort of not that different to think of our mental health in that way.
Yeah, we have to attend to our physical self, our mental self, and our spiritual self. All of them create a human being. So we
Yeah.
have to attend to each part.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, mental health expert Rex Remillard, for joining us with your expertise.
It's been a
And
pleasure. Thank you
it,
very much.
and for us as well. And, I think really helpful information for everyone, including myself, honestly. So, I encourage our viewers, we're going to continue to follow this story, all the aspects of this story, what happened at Apalachee High School. You can find much more on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com, also by downloading our free app. Thank you so much for being with us, and have a great day. And of course, be
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you.